Hello Vivek.
He- Hello.
Hello Vivek, how are you?
Yes, sir. I'm good, sir. Very good, sir.
Okay, so today is your Node.js interview and this is your first
Okay.
round, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so can you please tell me yourself?
Okay. Sir, my name is Vivek Bhardwaj, and I am a student of BCA. Currently, I'm in my fourth semester, and I have been practicing web development, Modern Stack, from the past 1 year, and I have been building projects in this Modern Stack. Also, sir, I am learning new tech stacks other than Modern Stack.
Okay, so currently you are fresher, right?
Yeah, I'm a fresher.
Okay, and you are learning Monstack.
I have completed my Mon stack. Right now, I'm learning other tech stacks such as C++ and Java because
Okay,
such things are taught in my college. No?
and you already give the React interview, right?
Yes, sir. I have given the React interview.
Okay, great. So let's start with the basic Node.js question.
Okay.
So first of all, what is the Node.js?
So Node.js is a JavaScript runtime environment which is used to run JavaScript code outside the browser. We use Node.js mainly to build the backend of our website. For the APIs and all, we use the Node.js.
Okay, so what is the difference between Node.js and JavaScript?
So, sir, JavaScript is a scripting language. It is used in the browser. We cannot use it is used in the browser, but when it comes to the backend, in there we use Node.js
Okay,
to create our like a server, make APIs for that.
okay, so you mean
Because
JavaScript is
In the Node.js we cannot use HTML, na.
okay,
That's
okay,
why.
okay. So is Node.js is a single threaded or not?
Node.js is a single-threaded based on event-driven architecture.
Okay, so what kind of API function is supported by Node.js?
API functions asynchronous and synchronous.
Okay, so can you please explain brief about what is the synchronous and asynchronous?
Okay, so sir, asynchronous and synchronous are is asynchronous blocks the execution of the synchronous functions block the execution of the code, while asynchronous functions don't block the execution of the code.
Okay, so can you give me the like difference between promises and async await?
Yeah, sir. Uh, in the promises, we use promises to overcome from the situation of callback hell, and async await is also just another term of promise. So in the promise, we in the promise that there involves quite steps such as when we create promise and then we consume that promise, and promise we use to work in an asynchronous nature, so for that we use promise.
Okay, so which one you prefer, promise and async await?
Sir, I go with async await.
Okay, so what is a module in Node.js?
Sir, in a module in Node.js is it's a JavaScript. It's a sir In Node.js, every file is a module in itself. So we use the require function to import that modules, and then we use that code.
Okay, so what is NPM and its advantage?
Sir, NPM stands for Node Package Manager. We can install multiple packages in our application using NPM. So we can create and publish our own package to our NPM, and from there we can install. For the Windows, it goes with like NPMI something, and for the like
Okay,
Yarn, we use that something
okay.
for that.
So can you give me the like flow of like how to start Node.js in our application?
Okay, so first we need to starting like we need to create a folder, and in the folder we create our file, and inside file we open it in our VS Code like any and then we write npm init y to initialize the Node.js in that, and then we npmi for installing the node modules. We need to set up like express.js for creating our server. We install express app, then after installing the express module, we like const app is equals to express, then we create a simple server such as like app.get slash something, and then we listen that using app.listen to a specific port, and then our server starts. It's a basic server, it starts.
Okay, you say Express.js, right? So
Yeah.
can we create API without Express.js?
Yeah, we can create apis in like node.js, which is the default http module, but it I have tried creating using without express, but it gets like the code gets quite messy, so I
Okay,
don't prefer creating apis using node.js.
okay. So like which framework you prefer in Node.js? Express.js or any other?
No sir, I only go with express.js.
Okay. So what is middleware in Node.js?
Okay, so middleware in Node.js, sir, it acts, sir, it's like a middleman between the client which is sending the request and the server which will send the response. So, can I tell it with an example?
Yeah, sure.
So suppose like client is sending a query parameter of age, and in the backend we have created our the API,
Hmm.
and inside that we have like using our middleware. In the middleware, we are checking if the age which is coming is greater than 18, then we will allow the user to get the response. If the age user sends is like 16 or 17, then we can show him an error message that you are not allowed to use our server, such as in that case we use middlewares.
Okay, great. So how does Node.js handle concurrency even after being single-threaded?
Okay, so sir, I know that Node.js uses something called libvirt library for handling all async calls,
Okay,
asynchronous calls.
okay. So what is the control flow in Node.js?
Sir, control flow in Node.js, it is used for handling callbacks.
Okay,
It defines the order in which it defines in which the it defines the order of the callback function.
okay. So what do you mean by event loop in Node.js?
So event loop. I have heard event loop. Sir, event loop is like a callback only. It is event loop. There are two like components. What we say like event loop is used in callbacks and something event. Yeah, sir, callback only. In the event loop, it comes like callbacks something.
Okay, no worry. Um, After interview, please check it out because this is
Okay,
the
sir.
main
Sure.
question in Node.js.
Sure,
Okay,
sure.
so what are the main disadvantage of Node.js?
Sir, Node.js is a single-threaded language. So when we want to like build when we are dealing with like when we want to build a bigger application, at that time it won't be like good for the performance. So there are other alternatives such as like Python, which works on multi-threaded. So we can use that. It is Python also helpful in creating the web APIs and all.
Okay, so can we use both database in Node.js like relational and non-relational?
Yes, we can use both database in Node.js like SQL and MongoDB, but mainly we use sir MongoDB in our backend with Node.js.
Okay, so what is REPL environment in Node.js?
Yeah, sir. REPL stands for read, evaluate, print, and loop. It's like command line function. So it is helpful in debugging the code, like performance checking something. For that we use in the shell REPL command,
Okay,
something like
so
that.
can you give me any like example module in Node.js we have already inbuilt?
Yeah, there are inbuilt modules such as HTTP OS module, DNS module. These are path module, FS module. Yes, these are FS module is the Most of the time we use it in our code.
Okay. Uh, okay. Then what is the package.json in Node.js?
So package.json is a file like it contains package.json is basically have the information what are the like packages we what are the modules like we are using in our applications such as what express.js if we have installed express course, then it shows like okay, so these are the packages which are being used in this application.
Okay. Suppose I want to write hello world in server.
Okay.
So how can I do?
Okay, so you want me to tell that code like how to write hello world and show it to show it to the client?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so we can create a simple Express server,
Hmm.
and in that we like
No,
const
no.
app is
I want without express. Then
okay. So without Express, then we can go with const HTTP require HTTP. Then we create that server like HTTP dot create server. Then inside that callback function, we path like if request dot URL is equals to slash, then rest dot send hello world, and we listen to that on a specific port such as 4000. If the user visits the home page slash, then we can show him the hello world.
okay, great. So why we use express.js?
So Express.js is built on top of Node.js, but and it is very helpful like for creating the web APIs. It makes our code like more readable.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what are the promises in Node.js?
Yeah, promises in Node.js, like I have told earlier, just like it's another term of using async await. So promises like we in the fs module sir we use promises such as const fs is equal to require fs dot promises. So
Hmm.
what happens there like if we want to read the contents of a file, then if we don't use promises now, then we need to send a callback function. If we use fs dot promises, then we don't need to send the function, we can just simply use like dot then, and we can get the data of the
Okay.
file.
What is event-driven programming in Node.js?
Event-driven programming in Node.js is based on callbacks. Is based on callback only, sir.
Okay.
So there we are have when we are dealing with events such as API calls. In that case, we call it an event-driven programming.
So what is buffer in Node.js?
Yeah, buffer is just like it's a binary data.
Hmm.
So it's just a temporary storage for binary data. We call it a buffer class. It's an instance of buffer class. So like if you want to create a normal buffer such as const buffer is equals to buffer dot from like hello world comma, and I have to pass the encoding such as utf-8.
Hmm.
And if I like console dot log that buffer, then it will give such as like a buffer some hexadecimal number. And if we want to get in a readable string, then we write it such as const console dot log buffer dot to string, and that's it, we get the actual readable string.
Okay. So what are streams in Node.js?
Yeah, so streams in Node.js are the objects like it's a very helpful thing in Node.js. Like when we are dealing with lots of data, now at that time we can use streams. So for example, in the backend, like I have my like video or any text file which is a very great which is a very large MB, and when the client requests for that file, if we are directly sending that file, then it can be like a very high load on the memory. So to avoid that, we use streams. So what I'm saying that using streams we can send data chunk by chunk.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the main use case of streams, sending data chunk by chunk.
Okay. So what is callback help?
Yeah, callback hell is like when we are performing nesting of callbacks, callback inside callback, then we call it a callback hell. And the virtual representation of callback hell is known as pyramid of doom, something like this.
Okay. So can you explain me like use of timer module in Node.js?
Timer module, sir.
Like,
We use like
mhm.
set timeout and
Yes,
set.
yes.
Yeah, that is only, no, we use that
Ah,
timer
yes,
module.
yes.
Yeah, so yeah, in the set timeout, like we can use set timeout functions in the set timeout in the inside that callback we pass like console.log name, and we pass the like the time at which it should go. Like I'm if I pass 1,000, then 1,000 stands for 1 second, and then it will print it after 1,000 seconds.
Okay. So what is body parser in Node.js?
Okay, so body parser is like we use like when the data is coming from the client, it comes in like it comes in like the JSON format. So we need to parse that data. So for that we use body parser.
Okay. So
Okay,
for
and also like from the Express, it's a by default. We don't need to install any other package like a body parser. We can use app.use express.json something like this to parse the data coming from the front end.
okay. What is course module in Node.js and why we use?
Yeah, CORE stands for Cross Origin Resource Sharing. So, sir, this module is very helpful. Like it restricts it restricts the from the getting called from other URL, such as like my server is running on 4,000, and if my client is running on 3,000, then if I don't use the course module, then it will show me the error of cross origin resource policy, something like this. And so to tackle this error, we need to use the course module, then our API will get called.
Okay. So how can we implement authentication in Node.js?
Okay, so for implementing authentication, there's a very great library called JWT. Yeah, JSON Web Token we call it.
Mhm,
So using that, we can implement authentication. So suppose like I have created the register and sign in APIs.
mhm.
So after registration, when the user sign in, and if the user's password gets matched, at that time we generate a token and send and set it in the local storage, and that token is basically generated by JWT called JSON Web Token.
Great. So explain the package used for file uploading in Node.js.
Okay, so there are multiple packages for file uploading in Node.js, but the most popular one is the Multer. We use the Multer package to like upload our images and all to the. But sir, what in the Multer, it doesn't upload our image to the database. Only we are saving the image path or image name to the database. Actually, the image gets stored it in our server folder.
And which package you use for the mail?
For the email, sending mail from the Node.js.
Hmm.
Yeah, so for that we use the Node Mailer package to send the email from the our server.
Okay. So can you give me the example of how we can connect database with our Node.js?
Okay, so for connecting the database, so suppose I'm using the MongoDB Atlas database. So
Okay.
for that, first we need to first we need to create our account on MongoDB Atlas, and we get the our URL database URL, and after that we need to install a package called Mongoose, and in that we after importing Mongoose, then we use like mongoose dot connect, and we pass our pass the URL, and then then it returns the promise, then dot, then after that we get that our server is connected to the database, and after that we can perform multiple operations such as updating, deleting, etc.
Great. So how to handle environment variable in Node.js?
Okay, so handling environment variables, we use a package called .env.
Mhm.
So .env package, we install it, and then we can get the environment variables. So for the like passwords and other security confidential data, we keep it in our env, and from the .env package, we get those data from the .env file.
Okay. And which package you use for the your password decrypt in Node.js?
Okay, though Decrypt.js for hashing my password at the time when user user when signups, at that time we use bcrypt.js.
Okay. So can you explain me like folder structure of our Node.js project?
Okay, so the ideal folder structure should be based on MVC, model view controller.
Mm-hmm.
So first we create the model folder. Inside that we define like our database schema and models. And in the controller section, like we create our controllers of the routes, like such as app.get slash API. And then we have our own logic which is stored in our controller folder.
Okay.
So it makes our code more readable and optimized.
Okay. So what is EJS?
Yeah, EGS is used for like EGS. When I was like learning Node.js, at that time I used EGS,
Mm-hmm.
but right now, sir, I don't have that much that much
Mm-hmm.
practical exposure in EJS. So yeah, I know that we can perform such as we can write our JavaScript function inside EJS.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Uh, yeah, something like this. We use EJS.
Okay. Can you give me like difference between query params and request dot params?
Query params and request dot params. Okay, so query params, yes. So suppose my API endpoint is like https something example.com/API,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's a question mark, and then question mark, and then we write age is equals to 10. Then this goes in query parameter, and if my URL is like this example.com/API slash 10, then that slash 10 goes in like request dot params.
Okay, great. And have you implement like Google authentication and
Yeah, I have
similar?
implemented Google Authentication. We use a package called Passport.js,
Mm-hmm.
and also like to we have to like create our account in console.google.com. So we get lots of secret keys, and then we like integrate, and we can start. We are done with our like Google login.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So have you heard about WebSocket?
Yeah, I have heard about WebSocket. In fact, I have used in most of my applications.
Mm-hmm.
There's a library called socket.io
Mm-hmm.
for the backend, and for the front end, it is socket.io client.
Can you give me like example like how you can use in backend?
Okay, so in the backend, okay, so we need to like install our socket.io, and then I don't actually remember the code. I
Mm-hmm.
remember like the functionalities I have been implementing, such as
Mm-hmm.
like the chat app. Okay, I remember like const something we const import something client from like socket.io, and then we like create our such as socket.io integrate. Then after like setting up our socket.io, we
Mm-hmm.
define such as io dot then we define io dot slash io dot sorry, then in that we define such as method such as io dot on.
Mm-hmm.
And in the io dot on we get the data, and we send it as socket dot emit, and we
Mm-hmm.
write like message, and we send that data. And in the front end I have to use that socket dot on message, and there's a callback data, and if we console dot log we get that data.
Okay. So how we can manage session in Node.js?
So Node.js sessions sorry sir, I didn't get.
Have you worked with like Google authentication, right?
Yeah, Google Authentication app. Okay,
So in
so
this
in the Google
application, you
Authentication, yeah.
use like session, like.
Uh-huh. Session. Yes, yes, there's a package called Express Session.
Mm-hmm.
So that we use. In the Express Session, it stores like the which user has logged into our application. So sir, session cookies and local storage are used for like the user data storage, such as so the backend knows like which user is sending the API request.
Mm, okay, great.
Yeah.
So can you give me like example like how you can create your database model?
Okay, so I can create my database model by like const mongoose is equals to require mongoose, and then I write my schema name. Const schema is equals to new mongoose dot schema, and then I in then the inside that object we write name is equals to type string, then age is equals to type number, and after that I write my like const my model schema is equals to mongoose dot model, and then I write my database name, sorry, collection name, collection, and then I pass my mongoose schema, and after that I module dot exports that, and I use it in our other like my API files to handle like CRUD operations.
So why we use Mongoose? Why we not using like core MongoDB?
Sir, core we don't use like core MongoDB because if it, because like if we use that, sir, then it will be stored in our it will be stored in our like local PC only, na. So when we
Hmm.
want to like work in a dynamic nature, at that time we have to use it MongoDB Atlas.
Okay, MongoDB at last.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is cluster in Node.js?
Yeah, so cluster is a very useful thing in Node.js. So
Hmm.
in the cluster, it is used for to create child process for
Hmm.
handling our work for handling the work process in the backend. We use the cluster module, so it optimizes our application, and for that we use cluster module. So it creates child process running on a single parent process.
Okay. So have you implemented the search functionality with Node.js and MongoDB database?
Yeah, I have implemented search functionality. I have implemented with Mongo with the backend as well as in the front end also.
So give me example in backend, like
So
how
in the
I can.
backend, okay. So suppose like in the front end, I have my API call, and on the on-chain event, I am firing that API.
Hmm.
So and in the backend, and I am sending that data which we want to search as a query parameter. So in the backend, I have my API, I have my simple API, and inside that, like I'm getting that query parameter. Okay, and
Hmm.
then like. And then I am like const find data is equals const data is equals to await
Hmm.
find by ID or something, find one, and then we pass that data, and then we like send it to the backend.
Okay.
Okay, so sir, then it's like in a like continuous. So to handle this, we can use a debouncing feature in the front end.
Hmm.
In that case, like it will be good for the optimization of our application.
So in search, you use any method MongoDB.
Yeah, I use like find one. Find there are multiple methods as find one, find by ID. So for that we need to like get which
Any
data we
regular
want.
expression you use in search?
Sorry, sir.
Any regular expression
Regular expression for
in
search.
MongoDB?
Yes, sir. I got it. Yeah, we use something like
Hmm.
const name is equals to something await, and
Dollar
inside that,
regex.
we pass something. We pass the object
Hmm.
inside that we something called regex we send.
Hmm.
Yeah, I remember that we
Suppose
send
I want
something like
to count
regex.
my all data,
Huh.
then how can I do?
Sir, there is a method called await count documents.
Hmm.
Our model name, my model name dot count documents, then it will give me how many data is present in my collection, the
Okay.
count.
Okay, great. So, okay, Vivek. So that's
Okay.
it from my side. If you have any question, please tell me.
Right now, sir, I don't have any question.
Okay, not an issue. I will get back to you. Okay.
Okay.
When you are selecting your first round, then we will uh, start your the next practical round. Okay.
Okay. So, sir, like what will be there in the practical round? So any overview about that?
I will give you like some task, like how you can implement authentication and
Okay, okay,
emails
okay.
and
Yeah,
like
yeah, I got it.
okay.
Okay, okay, okay. Thank you, sir.
Great. Okay. Bye.